Everyone, welcome back to the kitchen. If it's your first time here, I'm Noreen and this is my kitchen where I share lots and lots of different ways to feed your family good old-fashioned creative comfort food. Today we're going to be making this delicious creamy Alfredo tuna bake. It's not only going to be for dinner tonight, but we're going to make an extra one as a freezer meal, and I'm going to show you how to put it all together so you have one for now and one for later. I can't wait to show you how this all comes together. We're gonna get started with our freezer meal journey for the month of January by making this delicious, it's a creamy Alfredo tuna casserole. This is perfect for freezer banking. I'm actually making a double recipe of this, but I'm only showing you a single recipe's worth of ingredients because one I'm going to make and bake for dinner, and then the other I'm going to prepare for the freezer so that you can have the best of both worlds. You can see a finished casserole after it's baked, and you can see one ready to go in the freezer. In order to do that, you're gonna need 12 ounces of rotini pasta. If you're making a double batch, this is literally a box and a half of rotini pasta. You're gonna need one jar, this is a 16-ounce jar, of your favorite Alfredo sauce. We're gonna need a couple of cups of shredded Italian cheese blend. I have 1 can of sliced mushroom stems and pieces. I'm going to be using the liquid that comes in the can. I have 3 cans of albacore tuna. You can use your preferred type of tuna. I'm also going to be using the liquid from that can. I'm going to be using 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese and 1 cup of Italian seasoned breadcrumb and 1 cup of Italian seasoned panko breadcrumb, and then we're going to butter that up with about a half a stick of butter. If you need to make your creamy mixture a little creamier, we're gonna add about a half a cup of milk. So I'm gonna boil all the pasta for both casseroles, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna show you how to mix one together. Okay, our pasta has boiled and it's all ready to go. We're gonna mix up 1 casserole for you right now. This is really simple, you guys, and that's the beauty of this type of recipe, is that it just goes together super fast, and a lot of this stuff is pantry stock. This really qualifies as a pantry meal as well as a freezer meal. If you have these things on your pantry shelf and you need to prepare, then you're good to go. I went ahead and I put that milk in this jar. I'm gonna shake it up and I'm gonna get all that little bit of sauce that was clinging to the side out of there. There goes our Parmesan cheese, our mozzarella, in with our mushrooms. You can leave those out if they're not something you enjoy. And then in with our tuna. And I failed to mention at the beginning of the video when we were going over all the ingredients, I use tuna packed in water. That is my preference. I think for this recipe, that is really something you should consider. I don't think using tuna packed in oil is going to be really good here. And then we're going to want to go in here with our spoon and stab it, break up that tuna. You don't want to break it up too much, but you also don't want these giant clumps of tuna in there. Now keep in mind, I boiled the pasta until it was just toothsome, or al dente is what, you know, everyone is familiar with. So it's got a little bit of chew to it still, because once we put this in the oven, it's going to finish cooking off and it's going to absorb some of this liquid, and it's going to be perfect, and it's going to season everything up, and it's going to be really, really nice. Now this doesn't really need any other seasoning. It's got enough salt in it. You could put a little pepper, maybe a little onion powder if that was your preference. I'm gonna leave it just the way it is because once we put those buttered breadcrumbs on the top, it's gonna be delicious. Now we're gonna pour this into a casserole. And you have a nice amount of casserole here, honestly. And we always have enough for dinner plus leftovers for at least a couple of lunches. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the buttered breadcrumb, and I'll be right back. Now we're gonna make our buttered breadcrumbs. So I have my half a stick of butter that I have melted and it's nice and sizzly. I have this over medium-high heat. And now we're just gonna go in with our breadcrumb. Now I've used both regular and panko, and that's because I found that this makes the nicest texture for the top of the casserole. You're gonna wanna keep stirring this. Don't turn your back on these breadcrumbs, and gently move them around until they're nice and nutty brown. So when these are ready, I'll meet you over the counter and we'll put these on. Okay, here are our breadcrumbs, and they just have a little bit of a golden toast on them, and that's exactly how you want it. And you can hear it. They smell fabulous, right? And you can hear them sizzle just a little bit as you put them on top of your creamy tuna casserole. And then what I want you to do is just come in here and give everything a little zhuzh around just so that everybody gets a nice amount of those breadcrumbs. Our casserole is ready to go. At this point, if you would like to bake it off, you would just pop this in a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes until it was golden brown and bubbly, and then you would be able to have it for dinner. This one I'm going to put in the freezer. So at this point, we're doing nothing else. We're not going to bake it, because if you bake it off and then freeze it, you're really just eating leftovers. Nobody wants to do that. I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper, and this is only to help with freezer burn. I also am going to take this foil lid that is made specifically for these foil pans, and they just fold under. We're going to go ahead and grab our Sharpie marker, because your kitchen drawer should not be without one. And then we're going to put creamy tuna. And then you're going to, bake from frozen at 450 degrees for 1 hour. Remove top, bake an additional 15 minutes until brown and bubbly. And that is actually how I would do it. I'm going to just stick this in my freezer. I have a quarter sheet pan underneath this, and I will be putting that in the freezer with it until it is completely frozen. Then I'll remove the sheet pan and it'll be able to stack nicely. Another thing I do like to do sometimes is get a 2-gallon Ziploc bag, which I'm out of right now, and this pan will slip just right into a 2-gallon Ziploc bag, and it will seal beautifully. That gives you another barrier against freezer burn and helps keep your food nice and fresh. This will keep in the freezer as is for up to 3 months, and if you put it inside of a Ziploc bag, it will last an additional 3 months. So keep that in mind. And that's how you make this delicious creamy tuna casserole and get it ready for freezer banking for when you know your life is going to be super busy, and you'll be able to just pop this right out of the freezer and into the oven, and boom, you don't even have to think about it. I'm going to go fix the other casserole, and I'm going to be back and I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's all ready to have for dinner. Our creamy tuna noodle bake has been in the oven for about 30 minutes. You can see that the breadcrumb topping is perfectly golden brown. It didn't get overly brown. My rule is, if you can smell it, you should check it. And that is a good rule to follow, because when you start smelling the beautiful aroma coming from the oven, that gives you an indicator that it's almost done. Another indicator here is you can see the creamy sauce has started to bubble up in the corners, and it doesn't need to be vigorously bubbling. It just means it's completely heated through and everything is ready to eat. I always say let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes before you serve this, especially if you have young kids, because you don't want anyone burning their mouth on this delicious creamy sauce. I wanted to serve this on camera for you guys so you could see it. So we'll just dig right in here. You can see how beautiful that is. Even have a little bit of cheese pull from the mozzarella cheese. This casserole is easily going to serve 4 to 6 people. We are 4 people, and you know that. So we never eat all of this at one time. We always have plenty left over for lunches. This is a fabulous dish, and it's just a nice alternative to a normal, like a cheddar American cheesy kind of tuna casserole. That brown butter breadcrumb, that will make any casserole go to a different level. Rick and I already know what this tastes like, but look, I just want to show you. It's just, I can't say enough about what the buttered breadcrumb does for this casserole. It really just does make it extra good, and it mixes with all the noodles and the creamy sauce, and it's just beautiful. You can see that. And then because we didn't really cut up the tuna too much, it's just perfect. You want to taste it?
If I have to.
Yeah, well, you're going to eat it for dinner anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, that is really good.
That's so good. It's really, really good. That is how you make this creamy Alfredo tuna bake, and you make one for dinner, and you make one to put in the freezer, so the next time you don't know what you're going to cook for dinner after a long, busy day, you know you have this squirreled away in your freezer, ready to go. Pop it in the oven, go help the kids, give them a bath, help them with their homework, feed the dogs, and then in an hour or so, you'll have this delicious casserole coming out of your oven. I hope you give this a try, and I hope you love it. And until next time, I'll see ya.